There's almost no convenient way to sum up the career of a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, something nobody had ever seen before and probably won't see again. But because he's small, relatable, and not some athletic freak of nature, people find his greatness attainable, something they could realistically work toward and one day maybe even come close to. Then, as you think harder about it, you realize Steph Curry has played nearly his entire career in the same backcourt as another top 5 all-time shooter, and he's overshadowed him. There wasn't truly a Steph Curry before Steph Curry. There likely won't be a Steph Curry after Steph Curry. He is the greatest shooter of all time, by miles. A complete monster on the court, some might say. Speaking of which, shout out to today's sponsor, Monster Legends. Monster Legends is a free-to-play game that's available on both Android and iOS. Within the game, there are hundreds of different monsters for you to collect and build teams out of. So you can essentially combine different monsters to achieve whatever strategy you're going for, then take them on quests through the adventure map, put the right monsters together, and you may be as dominant as the 2017 Warriors. Also, you can find many of your favorite YouTubers in Monster Legends, including The Dream, Mr. Beast, and many others. You're able to build homes for your monsters on floating islands, where amongst other things, most importantly, you'll be able to fill them with breeding sites. So if you breed 2 monsters, you get new ones. It's kinda like Pokemon when you were younger, except less time consuming. There's different PvP modes, including special dungeons and the adventure map mentioned earlier. The dungeons give you the opportunity to defeat different enemies and earn rewards. Different dungeons are available for limited amounts of time, and for the challenge, you're only able to use certain monsters inside certain dungeons, hence actually having use for the different monsters that you collect. The adventure map allows you to battle through islands that are made up of 10 levels. You're able to earn stars within the battles, and how many stars you earn will be dependent on how quickly you get through the battle. So if you can do like the Warriors back in the day and end games before halftime, you're gonna come out nicely. You can fight in real time against your friends, and there are events every week to discover and play new adventures. So download Monster Legends through the link in the description and comment section to get this special reward worth $30. It includes 50,000 food, the epic monster Noah Ryan, and 300,000 gold. Once again, that can be found in the link in the comment section and description, which is being tracked, so it helps support the channel.
What's it like having a dad that played in the NBA?
It's awesome because I got to meet a whole bunch of NBA players when I was growing up and stuff, and I kind of learned, the ropes early, so all this stuff is kind of not new to me.
That's great.
The illustrious career of Steph Curry, in reality, was already on the path to greatness long before anyone was truly paying attention. Unlike a long list of players who were blessed with professionals for dads, Steph would follow in the footsteps of Del Curry, continuing far past where that path ended. On top of the fact that Steph spent countless hours around the game from the time he was knee-high, as time would pass, Del would also spend countless hours helping him hone in on his shooting craft, passing down this special talent that he himself possessed. While the game was different in his time, Del's marksmanship would one day be the staple of basketball, pushing the game forward. And here his son was, soaking in every bit of it, setting the stage for him to take it to the next level. But it was a process, and it in no way just fell in his lap because he was the son of a pro. The first hurdle? Being a lottery pick. 9 times out of 10, this places a soon-to-be star player on a horrible team in a potentially horrible environment and situation. There are many that never see their full potential because of it. So when Steph went 7th overall to the Golden State Warriors, there wasn't exactly a riveting belief that he would totally transform a mundane franchise that had spent the majority of its existence in pure mediocrity. The Warriors were, at the time, just moving on from the We Believe days, which featured a core of talented players that were trying to achieve in a brutal Western Conference. As a matter of fact, just 1 season before drafting Curry, they'd won nearly 50 games, missing the playoffs because that just wasn't good enough. Moving on to Steph's rookie year, the remnants of that electric team were still there, most important to this story being shooting guard Monte Ellis. Part of the reason they were in position to draft Curry was the fact that he'd only played 25 games in the 09 season. Standing at only 6'3", he made it abundantly clear that he didn't see a way he and Curry could actually play winning basketball. He offered that playing with a big-bodied veteran in Baron Davis worked for obvious reasons, but having 2 small backcourt guards, one of which was a rookie, he did not even pretend to have faith in it, and thus set in motion the inevitable transition.
First NBA game, so excited to be here. Like a dream come true for me, so.
What do you want your lasting legacy to be?
A consistent player that made it to that all-star level. And, we win some championships. It's all about winning. That's why we play the game. So, a guy did it the right way, and it was very consistent every night he played and gave it his all.
It may be difficult to remember, but Curry's injury woes actually didn't start in his rookie year, where he played 80 games and averaged an impressive 18 points and 6 assists while shooting 44% from 3. If much wasn't clear, it was absolutely obvious that this tiny kid with a quick release would definitely translate to the pros. Meanwhile, Ellis would post a career-high 26 points per game as he was out to prove he wasn't easily replaceable. Yet, thankfully perhaps, the flashy numbers didn't translate to wins and the Warriors would be headed back to the lottery for the 2010 draft. However, for one of the few times in the Curry era, the draft would yield nothing for real progress. They would get the 6th pick, missing out on future star DeMarcus Cousins by 1 spot, and then picking Ekpe Udoh over Gordon Hayward and Paul George. Of course, with the way the roster was constructed, they didn't truly need another player that needed shots to develop, and they weren't fully out on Monte Ellis just yet. And so, the 2011 season ensued. The Warriors had acquired star big man David Lee from the Knicks, and Monte Ellis was the only big name that remained from the We Believe era. His time was clearly coming, but there was no reason to fully commit to the trigger-happy sophomore just yet. His ankles had begun to be a problem this soon, and although he only missed 8 games, he was often playing through pain, re-aggravating the injuries as the season drug on. While his numbers would see a slight improvement, and he hadn't hit any kind of wall, he did need surgery by year's end to repair torn ligaments. Golden State improved by 10 wins as Monte Ellis continued to shine, but they luckily were still picking high in the 2011 draft, and so the story had officially begun. The Warriors selected sharpshooter Klay Thompson with the 11th overall pick, the perfect complement to their lotto pick just a couple of years earlier. The issue was, the potential of said pick was starting to look a little bit shaky. With an ankle surgery already under his belt, young Curry would now face a lockout-shortened season. This was a year with only 66 games that had to be played rather quickly given that the season didn't start until Christmas 2011. This meant less time for practice, a rushed schedule, and plenty of opportunity for burnout and injuries. Except, Curry's injuries weren't the wear and tear type, they were the scary type. He'd flat out roll the ankle, right off surgery to repair them. And it culminated in the worst year of his career, featuring 26 games played and only 15 points a game. To make matters worse for the fan base, the Warriors traded Monte Ellis midway in a deal to bring in big man Andrew Bogut, who'd recently suffered one of the most gruesome injuries of all time. As new Warriors ownership took to mid-floor, they were harshly booed as no one could yet see the vision. They'd been postseason-less for 4 years now, and the beloved squad with so much potential had all but disappeared.
As the greatest fans in the NBA, as everyone stated, sometimes change is inevitable and it's going to work out just fine. With your support and patience, and use that passion in the right direction. This thing is going in the right way. I've got great confidence in Joe, Mark Jackson, and everything will work out just fine. Just a little bit of patience. Use that passion.
This is a man that I've spent some time talking to. He is going to change this franchise.
In the apparent rubble, all they had to show for was a frail, injured kid and now a highly questionable trade. And by the way, that trade almost included Steph Curry instead of Monte Ellis. Little did the fans know, they already had 4 core pieces to the next great era of basketball, and enduring the rest of this season would seal the deal. The Warriors would finish with 23 wins under new head coach Mark Jackson, and find themselves right back in the draft looking for a clue. They would get the 7th pick, nabbing Harrison Barnes, and an under-the-radar pick at 35 selecting Draymond Green. They'd officially finished their young core through the draft and needed only to see it play out for the next few years while adding support pieces. To cap that off, before the 2013 season started, they would sign Steph Curry to a 4-year, $44 million contract. At the time, this was considered risky for them, as some wondered why, with his injury history, they couldn't sign him for even less. But it's not their fault. Absolutely no one could have predicted that they just got the bargain of a lifetime. He's got a pure shot, but he's also got glass ankles. That was pretty much the verdict out on Curry going into the 2013 season. So with a questionable young star and an unproven young core, there weren't an obscene amount of expectations, just hope. That hope would quickly turn into production, as Curry would turn in his best season yet, playing 78 games and posting a career high in minutes, points, and assists. Even better, his backcourt mate Klay Thompson burst onto the scene in just his second year, averaging 17 points at 40% from 3. With David Lee still producing around his New York numbers, the future seemed bright, and there was finally a reason to believe this core could actually put together a run in the near future. That's exactly what Coach Mark Jackson felt when he didn't mince words in April of that season, saying he believed Steph and Klay were the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of the game. Did he know something everybody else didn't? Being with them every day for months at a time? Yeah, probably. But there was no way anybody was ready to give them that after just one full season together, even if there were significant flashes. One of those came in New York in February, where Curry put out a then career-high 54 points with 11 out of 13 threes. For much of the NBA world, it was the first time people seriously turned their heads toward Curry as a pro, because, well, it was impossible not to. The shooting display was dazzling, appearing as if you were in an empty gym at times, but there was also a certain confidence about it that gave it more credence than just being a night where he was in the zone. For anybody that believed there was more to it, they were right. Golden State would finish with 47 wins and nab the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Good progression, but that was supposed to be as far as it went, as they'd now be matched with the Nuggets team that had all but pieced together a contender in the ashes of Carmelo Anthony's departure. Except that isn't what happened. Curry averaged 24-9 with 2 steals in his first ever playoff series. Meanwhile, 4 other Warriors players averaged in double digits. The team's only All-Star, David Lee, tore his hip flexor, rendering him absent for the rest of the playoffs after appearing in only 2 games. So with one of their crucial pieces out, the 6-seeded Warriors stunned the Nuggets in 6 games, allowing them to advance to the second round. For this team, that would have been a job well done. They didn't need to do any more or any less at that particular moment to prove they'd arrived, but they did just that, as Steph Curry put up 44 points in Game 1 against the veteran Spurs, who'd been within arm's length of another title run for quite some time now. They came within mere seconds of stealing that first game, thwarted only by a Ginobili game winner. There's no guarantee they still would have won Game 2 if successful the first time, but the revision isn't needed in any case. After 2 more games, they were in a 2-2 deadlock with the team they had no business being in the same room as, at least by stature. While that's as far as they would get, this young upstart with his young star had come within 2 games of the Western Conference Finals in their first playoff appearance, and this was without their star big man. Their time wasn't here yet, but they were clearly on the horizon.
During the preseason, you kind of tweaked your ankle right at the end. It seems like you're pretty much fully healthy going into this year. Does that make a difference for you?
Well, it helps for sure, not having any nagging injuries and feeling 100%. So hopefully I can capitalize on that. Like I said, I had a great summer to get myself ready, strength-wise in the ankles, and it was feeling pretty good through the whole preseason. And no incidences then, so feeling pretty good.
To make that full leap, Curry wasn't going to be able to afford any more significant stretches out with the ankle. To aid with that, he made some tweaks to his training, working with the Warriors' new player performance trainer to work on his core strength and relieve the stress on his ankles. Locked and reloaded, Curry would again post a career year, averaging 24 points and the highest assist total of his career, around 8.5. Not only was the core around him coming along nicely, but the Warriors had made one of their last significant pickups over the summer, bringing along Andre Iguodala from the Nuggets team they'd eliminated in the first round. This team now had speed, versatility, defense, and hot shooting. The only thing missing was time together. Curry would stitch together his first All-Star appearance as the Warriors made their way to a 51-win year, which was once again only good enough for a 6th seed. Ironically, one of the signature moments of that season did not come during one of those wins, but a loss in a thrilling game against the Big 3 Miami Heat. LeBron James would nail one of the greatest game winners of his career, and coming against the Warriors in 2014, that was an ominous sign of things to come in the near future. But Steph Curry had also posted 29 points and 7 assists with some dazzling moves during that game that caught the attention of LeBron. James acknowledged as much after the game, and while it was not the official start of the LeBron and Curry rivalry, it was a very eerie sign of things to come. But for now, just an acknowledgement of Curry's upcoming greatness by the then greatest in the game. Yet, there was an air of legitimacy surrounding the squad now, no longer able to sneak up on unsuspecting contenders. Would Curry ever be able to fully lead them to break through though? The Spurs were still the top dog in the West, a healthy Thunder squad was trying to reclaim their magic from 2 seasons ago, Chris Paul was trying to get the Clippers to the next level, meanwhile James Harden and Dwight Howard were poised to make noise at some point. Even a team like the Grizzlies that people didn't necessarily think could go all the way had just come within 4 wins of representing the West. The Warriors were interesting, but it seemed like it takes something drastic to get them from where they were to fully break through the West establishment. Making matters worse, this time they weren't playing some feel-good story of a team that had also exceeded expectations. They were facing the Clippers at a time when they were starting to peak in the Lob City era. This time, the injury they'd have to fight through was big man Andrew Bogut, and considering they were facing the bulky front line of Blake and DJ, it was pretty poor timing. Curry would lead the squad in scoring and assists as the teams would duke it out in a grueling 7-game series. But right at the end, the Clippers were able to pull away and advance to the second round. Still, this should have been the moment everyone saw what was coming. If the Clippers had gone on to win the title that year, it would have surprised nobody. The fact that the Curry-led Warriors had just taken their second contender in as many years the distance, perhaps 2015 should have been foreseeable. Yet, it hit the NBA world like a ton of bricks, with Golden State being on nobody's radar to totally break out, especially when the roster was nearly identical. The only major change had been the coach, as the Warriors cut ties with Mark Jackson in favor of Steve Kerr. His first order of business was asking Andre Iguodala to come off the bench, which was a bigger deal than anybody remembers. Next, Draymond Green, even if due to David Lee's injuries, would also become a starter. And now Golden State officially had their go-to core for their future dynasty. But most importantly, Curry's game was now fully unlocked. As the years would pass, his movement off the ball would become just as dangerous, if not more than anything he could actually do with it. Bogut would be used as an excellent, if even sometimes questionable screen setter, and Draymond Green would become the Swiss Army knife of the team, often initiating the offense and picking up huge playmaking responsibilities. With everything in place, the Warriors burst onto the scene as they'd start the 2015 season 21-2, riding the merits of a 16-game win streak. Although no one had truly seen it coming at this level, it was too late to do much about it. The golden era under Steph Curry had officially begun, but it was an era that many would come to see as fool's gold. Lucky breaks, close calls, questionable decision making as it came to competitiveness. The first half of the 2010s had been all about LeBron James, but he was about to get some company. That is where we'll pick up in part 2, because Steph Curry's career story is very long, there's a lot of context and nuance, and trying to expand on all of it in one video did not make a whole lot of sense. But it would make sense for you to go download Monster Legends using the link in the comment section and description. It helps support the channel and you can have some fun while doing it. Be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment to get Steph Curry's career story part 2 ASAP. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you with part 2.